I'm a fussy old lady.
I really appreciated the conversation afterward. I thought that was great.
I'm so glad that went well. I actually didn't get to any of the 1 o'clock panels. So it's good to hear that they went well. All right, you guys, it's 2:51 and I don't have very much business to conduct. And so let's just go ahead and do this. First of all, thank you to Josh for all his support and getting this stuff going. Behind the ACTC logo is Tess. Thank you to Tess. And thank you both for Tess's work, and thank you to Josh for freeing Tess up to work full time for us this week. Usually she works half time for us.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, take a bow, Tess. You've been
Thank you.
amazing. Yeah, just amazing. There have been a few moments in this conference where Tess and I have been talking, using the chat function on the computer and texting at the same time, just to get everybody into the proper room. So Tess, you've been a hero this week. So thank you.
Thank you.
The business we have is for me to announce the 2022 conference, which will be at Notre Dame, April 21st through 24th. It is on the calendar. I'll be making changes to the ACTC webpage in the next week or two, sort of putting that announcement front and center and dropping some of the conference things down. The conference stuff will stay up for a little while, both on Socio and on the webpage, because it's going to take a minute to get all the recordings posted. It's hard to explain, but I can't do the recordings. I can't post the recordings and be on Zoom at the same time. And you guys can imagine how much I've not been on Zoom in the last week. So there's just been no way to do that, but I can start doing that now. And so the recordings will start showing up on Socio. I don't know if you guys know it or not, ACTC has a YouTube channel. Part of the way that we get the videos onto Socio is first by uploading them to YouTube. So we actually have YouTube playlists for the fall core conversation series, the spring core conversation series, the undergraduate conference, and now our conference. And so even when Socio sort of falls away, all of the videos will still be up. They'll be a little less organized. I don't think I'm going to spend a lot of time reconstructing panels or days or things like the panels, yes, but days, I don't think. But they'll be up there, and they'll be up there as long as we want them up there. I've had a few people ask me to do some editing on videos, and I will, but mostly they're just going up, and they'll just be what they are. I don't know what else we want to talk about. Josh and I are already in conversation about developing new institute ideas. It looks like there's a chance that we're going to work on redeveloping some new version, maybe not precisely the same, of the Rejuvenating and Reinventing Conference or Institute, because that seems to have been such a good model, and the people who went through that institute were so positively affected by it that it seems like a conversation that we want to keep going, both probably with some of those same people, maybe all of the same people, but also adding some new people into that conversation and into those readings. The board talked about perhaps continuing the core conversation series. I'm not sure that'll happen or not, but there'll be some things happening to bridge sort of conference to conference. We want to stay connected. Also with the undergraduates. The undergraduates are very interested in staying connected. So I'm working on some basically infrastructure to keep them connected to each other and do some things with them over the year. But that's pretty much what I got. Paige, what do you got?
Just a quick thing to add to that point. I've been thinking all along, as you all know, a number of us have been involved or are still involved with honors education. And the undergraduate conference seems like a very natural place to link up. And I certainly would be happy to, go through the different organizations, and I'm sure there are other people, even on the board already who know those organizations. And people, it's always good for honors students to publish in any way possible, or to present in any way possible. So I
will,
really,
if you're willing, Paige, I will loop you in. Michael Crom at St. Vincent College is taking the lead on the undergraduate conference. The undergraduate conference this year was supposed to be at St. Vincent, but COVID. But Michael, wonderful person. He just stepped up and said, "Let me help you with the online conference. It'll give me a sense of how these things work, and it'll just be good preparation for our conference in 2022." So Michael, it was only less than a week ago, but it seems like a year ago, Michael and I were hosting all the undergraduates, and we already have begun talking about plans for next year. But I would love, Paige, I would love to get you into conversation with us and help us connect with the honors network.
sure.
And you can have the conference in the Fred Rogers Conference Center at St. Vincent.
Is that right?
Mr. Rogers.
Oh, that
That's
makes me
very
really
cool.
happy.
I was up there for a conference a number of years ago, and the three things for which Latrobe, Pennsylvania is famous: Mr. Rogers, Arnold Palmer, and apparently the invention of the banana split.
Man, I was already looking forward to this, but now I can't wait.
Yeah.
Charlie and Josh and everybody, I heard most, maybe all of the undergraduate conference, and I thought it was a collection of extraordinary young people. And I wondered if there's a way that we could work out an undergraduate membership for them in ACTC to try to keep them involved with us, not just with each other. I'm not sure what that would look like, but it was such a remarkable group of young people that it seemed to me that if we could, for lack of a better word, after 5 days here, if we could recruit them in some way and draw their talents and their enthusiasm into this organization, I would think that would be worth pursuing.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Charlie, I mentioned this to you in an email, and I'll just repeat it. It may not be a good idea at all, but it seems to me that one of the things that we can do is try to help a number of our international partners, either through some kinds of limited academic exchanges or through consultancies. And the easy part of the consultancy now, since we're all comfortable with and sick of Zoom, but this really makes reduces the cost of that kind of consultancy. But I can imagine, for example, we use a number of visiting faculty every year to teach in our core. And if someone wanted to come from Latin America or Europe or somewhere else in the world to spend a semester working in a core program and seeing how things work, we could certainly broker that or facilitate that for people who have the interest. And the same goes, obviously, for those of us who want to take a semester and spend it somewhere else. And I don't know, and I would imagine also that there might be either philanthropists or agencies that would be interested in funding something like this. I don't know, for example, whether there are Fulbrights that could be deployed in that way, essentially to have someone teach in a core program.
We could look
That's-
into it.
Yeah,
There's
that's
a-
fascinating.
There's a particular faculty program called the Distinguished Scholars Program that goes all over, but entails more money, more prestige, all kinds of extra goodies. And I'm guessing that many of the people who are teaching, certainly senior people teaching in these programs would qualify. And they are, as I say, worldwide. Most of them are still in Europe. The ones in Eastern Europe don't get nearly as many applicants. So anyway, it's just a thought. All of
That's within the Fulbright program page?
Called the Distinguished Chairs. And that's a one. I mean, it doesn't have to be that one, but that's just one that I particularly recommend. I used to read applications for it. I was fortunate to have one in Austria, and it was super. Best ever.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and I just think so. The idea with these international planning sessions at the meeting, my main hope was to listen, which is mainly what I did. I've got some notes. Thanks, Josh, already on the Latin American panel. And we'll do some more, but in all three cases, I think, I know it's the case in the Asian meeting and the European meeting, we walked right up to the brainstorming moment, and then for different reasons just sort of didn't get there to, what are the programs, what are the things that ACTC can do to support you. And so one of the things I'm going to be doing post-conference is reaching out to people who were in those meetings and saying, okay, well now, we've had a chance to meet and, talk to each other about what we do, and you have had a chance to see who we are. What are some of your ideas about how ACTC can support what's going on? And so start out by listening a little bit, and then, but I think the time is coming pretty rapidly where making suggestions like that one and others is going to be a good thing to do. There are a lot of questions, and the Asian, European, and Latin American, they're not going to develop in the same ways. There's not going to be any kind of template really. We need to just sort of let those contexts determine and people determine what they want to do, and we'll sort of get in there. But I love that. I also, I have it's not something that is directly connected to ACTC at all, but I've been running study abroad programs for 20 years. And I know a lot of people who do ACTC-ish kind of things that would love to have programs for their students, but just don't want to manage the logistics, or, don't think they could recruit enough students to make it fly. And those are kind of networking, pooling resources kind of things that we could do too. I mean, so there's just a lot we can do. We just got to figure out what we wanna do.
ACTC sponsored study abroad could actually be a profit center for ACTC.
Charlie, has anybody looked into, or is it worth looking into how member institutions could offer cross joint credit or attach credit to the concept? I'm sure it's been discussed, but
I don't know that
Dave-
it has. Do you guys, Josh, do you know a page that you
I
Joe,
don't
Rick,
remember it.
I don't. Yeah.
just a thought that if we could get like-minded institutions with the study of core text sort of in a cooperative for study abroad and cost sharing, and it's just, I think, working with registrar's offices for the credit and provost offices more than anything. But
Again,
Just a
just to
thought.
speak to my, sorry.
I just don't think, I don't think anyone's really thought about anything beyond the conference. I mean, I think that's as far as we've ever gotten. Right, yeah, really, seriously. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just gonna, I've had plenty of students over the years from other universities join my groups abroad, and what we've done is work with them, do transient student registration forms before they go, so they know what the credit situation is like. My guess is that it would take a little bit more than that to make this go, but not much more. It's, we all have our own quirks, but there are a lot of patterns to these things that aren't that different. So,
Charlie, have you?
I would love to do
Go
that.
ahead.
No.
Charlie, have you had any further thoughts? We didn't get a chance to talk about this at the board meeting, but have you had any further thoughts about Twitter and social media presence and all of that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing it, sort of. SurveyMonkey, which is not SurveyMonkey, MailChimp. I can't keep my primates straight, but it's not an enjoyable platform, and maybe that's just because I don't know it well. It's some of the other systems we have are clearly not good. That one I'm not sure whether it's good or not, whether it's my fault or its fault. But it has a function that when you send something out through MailChimp, it will also push it out in social media. And I've been doing that. And that's how the guys from the New Thinkery and Jack Dupree from Jack Miller Center sort of started retweeting us, and some other, we've been retweeted a little bit. And it's because of that. It's because MailChimp sort of supports that kind of social media presence. And then a little bit more than that, not much, not much. So it kind of, I think we should keep it up. Here's one question that we really need to think about. I'll be really happy to sort of raise it today, and we can kind of think about time. But what, how, to what extent, and I'm not looking for immediate answers, although I'm happy to take feedback, but to what extent do we want to forward things, like when there's job announcements or exchange opportunities or lectures or things going on? To what extent does ACTC want to be a platform that is promoting those things? On the one hand, I love that idea, and I think it would help our network and obviously build our following on social media. On the other hand, I think if we start, we have to keep it up, because otherwise people feel like they're neglected, or we're making decisions, or we're apparently making discerning things that we're not. It's just, and so I want to do that cautiously, but I don't even know if that's an ambition we have.
It seems like a reasonable ambition, though it would only make sense, I think, to do it at least well after you're happy with the rest of the website. Because I think that it would be a good way to get more people to the website. So once the website's in a position, but I mean, at least as far as, from my point of view, it sounds like it makes sense. I mean, I don't know what everybody else thinks.
Well, how much of that is
Camellia
busy work?
had a,
Sorry.
what's that, Jason? No, go ahead. Please, Jason, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I think it's a great idea. To avoid insanity, you might want to set pretty tight criteria of how it fits how the distribution would fit ACTC's mission specifically. Otherwise you're going to get bombarded with stuff that may be superfluous to what the organization's trying to accomplish. So
an extremely good point. And I think Scott and I had talked about this in the past, and one of our concerns was precisely what Jason is saying, and that is you can get inundated with things that are inappropriate or just distractions, really from what fits our particular mission.
So
yeah,
I'm sorry, super quick. I think maybe I was only thinking about my own experience at my university, and part of the thing is that at my university, rather than passively waiting for folks to contact us, having someone who actually goes out and scopes out the kinds of jobs that people who attend ACTC would be interested in. That would be a way of trying to handle Jason's problem.
Yeah,
Have
and
many
we might just need some
problems.
help. I would just might be, I mean, I'm not gonna buttonhole Camellia right now, but she just volunteered to help, and there are other people who have volunteered to help, and it may be that somebody who's interested in social media would be interested in just taking this on, and but I do think you're right, Josh. I mean, we're not going to wait for the website to be perfect, but I do think we need for the website to be better before we make too much of a effort to bring more people to it. It's a little bit wonky, so.
I just was
But
going to say, how could
my
you-
plan is to start it next week, so we're going to get this website handled. I don't want to live with it anymore.
how do you want to spend your time? That's my question to you. And you could, if you had a work study student or someone like that, who could basically take the social media, retweeting, posting things like that role, but it could consume a lot more of your time than is desirable. And so
I was not
I
talking about,
wouldn't take it
talking
on
about you
unless
doing
you
it.
had some
I
help
was
like
not
that.
talking about you doing it. I was actually just referring to our old discussions about
Yeah.
how we needed to have a subcommittee to worry about this. And I was just thinking we ought to sort of renew that and try to find some people either on the board or not on the board. Sorry, Joe, for interrupting.
I think it's important, Josh and Joe. I really don't think that social media at this moment is I don't know. It's not kind of just some sort of tangential thing that you might or might not do. I think, especially in our efforts to be a little less gray around the temples, I think it's probably pretty important. And it's not like the guys from the New Thinkery or Jack Shapiro, these guys, they're in their late 30s, early 40s. We're not talking about 20-year-olds here. This is just younger than us, right? not young per se. It needs to happen, but we need to have the website fixed up first before it happens, and that's going to happen soon. The fact that Tuan, and we're back to just board members here, so we can sort of just talk for a minute and then say goodbye. But Tuan has offered to help with the website, and he has his own website, and that's pretty exciting. I'm still going to hire somebody because we need to have a web developer that we can call when we need them, and somebody who understands the website and understands the architecture of the website. But to have somebody like Tuan get on board is a big deal. It's
Big deal. Yeah, it's terrific. Make sure that whoever is, the hired hand works with Tuan so that, it's user-friendly enough for Tuan to be able to do the things he wants to do without too much time and effort.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good note.
And
I guess one more, go ahead, Paige. Yeah.
I was just going to say again, what in every meeting, Paige says the same thing. Outreach for African-American members, board members, faculty members. It's just absolutely crucial. And I was just thinking about the website. I mean, we can begin with simple things like links on our website to organizations that deal with African-American literature. And I certainly don't know all of them by any stretch, but I know a couple of them. And we just got to have that constantly in our ear. This is the whitest bunch of folks I've ever seen. And who's the whitest on this particular call, And despite folks, Asian, Hispanic heritage, the African Americans are being left out, and so it just something to keep at it all the time. This is going on everywhere we are with, I'm on a theater committee that does this. Jason, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was, but I was going to send an email to Charlie and Josh, but what has anybody heard or interacted with Dr. Anika Prather in Washington, D.C.? She's a Howard grad, and she did a graduate study at St. John's. So she's a Johnny. Is that what you guys call yourself? And she's African American.
Excellent.
And I'll pass it along to everybody on this call, but this has been a wrestling match this year at Samford about what are we going to do about this? Not necessarily changing basically how can we reach African American students with the great text? I mean, how is it relevant in the modern conversation? So she's running and headmaster or mistress of an inner city school that does a great books Cortex curriculum.
Oh.
And she's written a book. It's more of it's not a, how do I say it? It's more of a case study book of what it was to teach I think these are inner city, I better be careful here, non-traditional African-American students starting with a Cortex curriculum. And I'm really anxious to try to talk to her and see, but after the meeting today, I will send her link on to everybody. But I was going to suggest it as an institute possibly, because Charlie, you and I have talked, we try to run these little seminars at Mercer or Samford as well. If we could connect through Zoom or even regionally, get in the car and just drive to each other's institutions, this may be one that would be worthwhile because it's not going away. And if you can't change the composite, which I think you could at least start talking to people in the African-American community who are doing this, even if it is at the high school or grade school level.
Yeah, this actually reminds me that through the classical ed work at my university, we have had at least one female head of school who's very deeply involved in much the way you're talking about. So you jogged my memory and I will pursue that.
It may be one more, I'll just say this, Josh, it may be that's where we have to start.
Yeah. Because
that may be where most of the activity is right now. Sure. And as far as Black leadership goes with core text. But Anika Prather, I will pass it on, Charlie, and to make sure you have her contact. And if it's worth pursuing, great. And at minimum, I think we're going to reach out to her here to try to do something as soon as we can have people on campus again. So
I put her website in the chat.
Okay, okay, yeah. Thanks, thank you very much. That was it. That was what I was going to send. So.
And if anyone else has ideas, I think that's a fabulous idea. If anybody else has ideas for board members, please send them to Josh and me. We've been talking about this, for a long time, but all week. It's been a kind of a thread in our conversations. Yep. And so, that would be very, very helpful.
Well, to be clear, I have no idea what kind of speaker she is. I have, sure. I just know that I'm trying to find these networks. Just out of moral responsibility to the curriculum and to our constituents. So
I think you all are right in pointing to the Classical Schools Network as a place to look. Because I was on the board of not a classical school, but a Christian school, and 3/4 of our students were African American. And I think that community looking for sort of seriously grounded education that isn't public, and it's not the only place to look, but I think you do find people there taking that very, very seriously, and it's certainly a place to look for people where there is a kind of common concern, and if not for board members, then certainly for plenary speakers and panelists.
Yep. Hello there, Terry. So this is a meeting of the board plus you.
Okay.
And we already had a board meeting.
Welcome.
So the question is, so do you have anything to ask us, or is there information that you want on ACTC or?
Or
Because
feedback, or feedback on this meeting.
Yes, please.
Well, I just came from a class, so I missed the general meeting. I mean, I missed this board
No,
meeting.
this is the general meeting. It's just that only board members and you and one other person have showed up for the general meeting.
So I don't know if I have anything on the spot to mention. I guess there were some announcements of different things going on, like do we know when it's going on next year and things like that?
Yeah, we'll be at Notre Dame, and the dates are April 21st through 24th. And that's set. We're on Notre Dame's calendar, and so that's what we'll do. I guess I could say two more things about that I haven't already said. One is just a question, and that is I'd be really interested in ideas for institutions to approach for co-sponsorships, particularly in that area. So Indianapolis, Chicago, South Bend, anywhere up there would be, if you have thoughts about institutions or organizations that might be interested in co-sponsoring, I am all ears. We typically do that. We'll have a sponsor and then several co-sponsors. So that would be great. The other thing is that just to put it out there now and over again, is that the proposal deadline will be much earlier next year. So the old schedule put proposals for the original deadline are in December, with a typical extension into January, and that sounds really good to me. April 1st deadline for an April 12th conference doesn't sound good to me. So we're not going to do that again. We're going to do an early one, which means we'll be announcing have the website set up and announce the call for papers and everything by September or October.
So did you say 21st to 24th, April
I did.
next year? Okay.
That's right.
And Charlie, you and Josh have probably already thought to remind folks when they're to send their papers in for the proceedings or whatever we're going to call it.
I put it in my morning.
That.
Yeah, it's been in my morning announcements every day. So 3 of those, I didn't do one this morning, but 3 of those announcements had that information, but we're going to send one out to the whole list. But if you look at, if anybody's looking, Paige, right now for it, if they go into the announcements, they'll find a paragraph that has that information and has Twan's email address in it.
Good. I apologize.
So it's already there.
Didn't look. I just didn't look. Okay. Sorry. Hang my head.
Okay. No.
So Notre Dame has already agreed to host?
Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So you're looking for another institution right in that area that might be co-host?
That has been our practice in the past, is that the sponsors and co-sponsors had regional connections, not necessarily in the same town, but in the same region.
Yeah. So have you already been in contact with Chicago, by the way? I mean, I know that Kathleen has connections. I mean, I can point you to
okay.
Our points of contact there. Valpo seems like a natural.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah, good.
Ashland in Ohio.
I mean, Purdue makes some sense to me, right? Given what they're doing.
Very good. Right. I was trying to think of Indiana, but I think Ashland these days, Terry, is kind of, it's pretty much on the ropes. I mean, it's, yeah.
I hate to hear that.
The program, I mean, it's going the way of Tulsa. Yep. Pivoting to STEM. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Terry, did you have a thought?
So
I thought you started to, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I did. So there's another institution, I've just forgotten the name of it. The Great Books Program. Arn is the president. What's the?
Hillsdale.
Hillsdale.
Yeah.
They ought to do it. They send a lot of their graduate students to these conferences. They're kind of a natural. As long as they have to be very clear that can't be a platform for politicization.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Keep thinking about that co-sponsoring. Chicago's, should be at the top of the list. I feel like Purdue should be at the top of the list too.
Yeah.
And the more we can learn from, and just to kind of circle back quickly, Jason already knows this, but I'll say it for the benefit of everybody in the meeting and the recording. I am very much on board with this idea of doing an institute for the way Great Books is going into underserved communities, minority communities, first generation college student kind of situations. And I don't know whether I don't know what our institute schedule will be, but I hope that will be one of the ones that we begin to develop soon.
Yeah. By the way, so Terry, rejuvenating and reinventing is likely to go on a repeat, and there's possibility of carryover from the first group, and you would certainly be someone at the top of the list to include if you ever wanted to do it again. Anyway, yeah.
Do you know when that might occur?
Not sure.
No.
Nope, because the schedule's up in the air. We haven't sorted any of that out.
So I don't know if you've ever made any connections with that group, Riches for the Poor. I've forgotten the fellow's name who wrote a book on that. So they have their Great Books programs for, just going into parts of a city where there would not necessarily be a lot of supposed interest in that, but including people to read good books regardless of their economic background or their educational background. I know that Halifax, the University of Dalhousie, has had a program called the Humanities, and they've done the same thing. They get university professors from Dal to go out to run these, kind of Great Books programs for the community. So there are a few institutions doing different things.
Also places that teach in prisons and not just vocational.
Mm-hmm.
When I was teaching a humanities class for homeschoolers, one of the kids' moms was a Georgia State English PhD who used to teach John Milton in a correctional facility. And she came and talked to us, and she had the artwork the prisoners had done about based on Paradise Lost. It was just remarkable.
Very cool.
Yeah.
They're ruling in hell.
That's what I was. I didn't want to say that, Paige. It crossed my mind, and I said, "No, I'm going to bite my tongue."
I rarely bite mine. I have an unbitten tongue.
Well,
Pretty
everyone,
soon.
any final thoughts? I think we probably are going to wrap this up.
Well, I guess we're going to, and I've been waiting to say this, leave the sociopath.
Oh,
No.
I think it's a good
Pretty good.
No.
it might be time to go. Thank you
Time
guys
for me to
for
go anyway.
everything.
On that note,
Been
bye.
so good.
Hey,
Thank you all so much.
Thank
Well
you.
done. Well done.
Good done.
Thanks very much. Yeah.
Bye, you guys.
See ya.